Excellent. Congratulations. You've made it past the first two videos. So I'm assuming at this point in time, you've watched the first video of this series, which is how long does it take for the GEPF to pay you out? That was the first video. And the second video, I shared with you 7 secret tips that you can use to speed up that payment process. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about what happens behind the scenes. So after GEPF receives your money, what's the process that they follow before this money gets paid out? Now, this entire series, you can see behind me, I want this to be out of this world, and the experience for you should be out of this world. And what's not going to be out of this world, which you have to excuse me, is my drawing. So my focus is on helping you, engaging with you, doing tax planning, investing, building the strong relationship with you. But my strength is definitely not in art itself. So as you move on to the iPad, I need you to make a promise to me that you're not going to laugh at how I've drawn this out. But my goal here, or the intention here, is just to give you, to make it easy for you. I want to do a visual for you as to what this would look like. Yeah, so remember, no laughing. Great, so this is you. It starts off with you processing your application, meaning as I've shared in the previous videos of this particular 3-part series, you've got to know what your documents are. You can find those documents in the GEPF guide. Again, as I've shared with you in the earlier video. So it starts off with you making sure that everything is in order. You've checked your documents, the application, you know what forms are required by GEPF. You've done whatever financial planning all ahead of time. And now you're at that point where you're ready, your pack is together, and you want to now hand this through to your HR. So it starts off with you and then you handing over to HR. Now, when you hand over to HR, ideally, you want to make sure that you are doing this well before you actually leave work. And as I've shared in the previous video, that is important because assuming you want to make sure HR submits this before you leave, firstly, and you should get some notification from GEPF to acknowledge that they've received your forms. If they've not received your application, then you want to keep touching base with HR. And it's a bit easier, again, if you are still working, so you can reach out to HR compared to if you're no longer at work. It might be a bit challenging for you to go back to them for some additional support. So again, from HR's perspective, they should have some sort of checklist for you to know these are the aspects that should be inside of your application. And you want to make sure that that checklist is completed and everything is in order before it then gets submitted through to GEPF. Now, the first stage for GEPF you can see here is a QC process. It's quality control. So again, GEPF is going to make 100% sure that the documents that you've submitted are correct and it's following what they've guided in terms of the member guide. So everything that you need to have ready is ready. So before this filters through to the remaining departments here, they want to do this quality check in advance so that it doesn't create a bottleneck or create a cause for concern for you at a later point. So this quality control, again, if it's done thoroughly by your HR, the process should move a lot smoother here. But I need you to know if something is missing, if in this quality control, they pick up a document is not certified or something is missing, or there's some item that's required and wasn't completed correctly, then this document's going to go back through to HR and back through to you for you to update this. So again, you want to make sure that you're following this process thoroughly so that this becomes a seamless move. Once it's approved at quality control, so they can see everything is in order with how you've submitted your application, now it moves over to the next step. And the next step is membership and contribution verification department. So in this one, they're going to have a look at your years of service. They're going to make sure that if you bought back service, that figure is calculated. If there was a divorce, calculations are done. So it's just confirming. So it's confirming all of the information. Is everything accurate? Confirming your contributions. Is it up to date? So now what you would have received on your GEPF statement, that could have been estimated values, assuming you left at a certain point in time. Now they actually want to do the calculations for you to make 100% certain that the amount that is being paid out is accurate. You see, so that's what membership and contribution verification department would do. And again, this process becomes critical for you if you have bought back some service. So if you have bought back service, right up at your beginning stage, so right up here, you want to make sure that that information is aware, is made available. So you want to make sure that GEPF acknowledges it, that you've received some kind of proof of the service that you've bought back, that you have proof of payments that you've made to them for that service that you brought back. And again, that can be submitted through to your HR. So anything that's out of the ordinary, it would be good for you to make sure that it becomes available, just to ensure that at a later stage, the process moves along smoothly and seamlessly. So let's assume from there, everything is in order. You then move into the payment section. Now, in the payment section, again, it's just confirming everything is in order. And now it's at that point where they're ready to make the payment. But there is just one more section that it has to go through. And this is not within GEPF, but it has to go to SARS. It has to go to SARS, and SARS then has to approve this. And this is the point where you might have heard me saying in earlier videos, SARS would issue what is called a tax directive. So whether you are taking this money out in cash, whether you are moving to an approved fund, it still has to go via SARS. SARS then would make a determination. So if you are taking this out in cash, SARS would give this directive to GEPF. So they would tell GEPF how much of money must be paid to them, to SARS, and how much of money then is paid over to you. See, that's what this directive is all about. If it's transferred to the approved fund, same setup. In that case, if everything is done well, it's a no tax directive, meaning zero amount. If the planning is done well, but GEPF still has to follow the process of applying for a tax directive. So they can't skip this step. It's got to be done. So they'd apply to SARS. If the planning is done well, it's a zero tax directive, so nothing's taken out. And then yes, it goes back to the payment department for them. So let's go back here. Once SARS issues the tax directive, it's then submitted to the payment department. The payment department then knows exactly what is required from SARS. And just going back on SARS, it's a reason why I've suggested in the earlier video as well. It's critically important for you to ensure that you are up to date with your taxes, that your income tax number is accurate, that everything ties up. If you can do this, you're not going to have a delay here on the process of SARS. If you can make sure everything is up to date. So this is critical for you to ensure is done well. And then, yes, so once your directive is issued, it's heading back to payments department. Now the payments department then would make this payment due to you. Usually, at the time of shooting this video, GEPF was making payments twice in a week. It might have changed, but either way, there are days in which GEPF would make that payment. So again, once it becomes ready, GEPF then makes that payment over through to one of two places. It's either paid to you or into your bank account. This is if you have opted to have your benefit paid to you in cash. So remember, there's a portion taken in tax, so SARS would take their portion. The balance of this money then gets paid over to you into that bank account that you've provided GEPF with. Please remember that bank account must be verified with the correct details, and it must be in your name as well. If you've opted to transfer it to an approved fund, then in that instance, nothing's getting paid to you, but the entire benefit moves over to the approved fund. You see? So all of it gets transferred to the approved fund. And I know you're thinking, if that is the case, how do you get your 1/3 payment? So I'm going to show you that here. So we'll assume, let's just do this. So your funds currently, we'll say at the start of the process, we're sitting with GEPF. Then you made this move to go to the approved fund. And you notice the entire amount got transferred to the approved fund. Let's just use an example to make the math look easy. Let's say 6 million, and the whole 6 million gets transferred over. So you know that entire process had happened. Now, where do you get your 1/3? It's then coming from this approved fund. So the approved fund would then pay out 1/3. And depending on the style of the approved fund that you've chosen, There might be a 2/3 payment that's left behind to pay an income, or again, it depends on that. You can watch another video in which I explain the difference between the two. But key here for you to know is GEPF is not going to pay the 1/3. It's transferred to the approved fund. When it's sitting in the approved fund, that's when you release the 1/3 through to you. In that process, please also bear in mind, one critical step must happen. It needs to go back through to SARS. It has to go back to SARS because SARS is now going to apply for the tax directive again. And that tax directive this time is on the 1/3 that's getting paid to you. Quick recap. When they applied for the tax directive here, they were applying on how much of tax must be taken out before it's moved to the approved fund. Again, if the tax planning is done well, that should be 0. Should be no. This time, the insurance company is applying for the tax directive to SARS, and they're applying for that based on you taking out up to 1/3. It could be any amount that you're taking here. Again, if the tax planning is done well, you could bring that tax to 0. But yes, you then want to just bear in mind that there's going to be a little longer delay before you receive the money because of this fact. Yeah, shouldn't be too long though, again, if the planning is done well. Great, so that's behind the scenes. GEPF estimates the process to take about 60 days. Again, as I shared with you in the first video of the series, it's important for you to bear in mind that this could take longer than what they are suggesting to you. So you want to just make sure that you are allocating the time or using the tips that I've shared with you there. And then I hope, again, you found the entire series to be helpful to you and beneficial in your journey through to resignation. I want to encourage you to post any comments below so that this could benefit other members. What have you found helpful from this video? Is there something that is missing that you feel needs to be included? I'd love to hear from you. Or if you just have a query on resignation or a tax query, please post in the comment below so we can have a look at it and perhaps also shoot a video for you and help give you the guidance that you're needing. Excellent. And then I'm sure you already have done so, that you've clicked subscribe and you click the thumbs up to say that you like the video. I then encourage you to share these videos to your colleagues. Share this with other GEPF members because often it's hard for them to gain access to information. And if this information is made available to members early, then it just empowers them to make right decisions a lot earlier, or just empowers them with this kind of knowledge. Great. So remember to click subscribe and then also to share this to the other colleagues so that they can benefit.